How's it going, Pokemon trainers? My name is Ruffled Rowlet and welcome to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now, Pokemon Sun and Moon have been amazing, and the new Alola Pokemon as well as the new Alola forms have been a great new addition to the Pokemon universe. But it would be amazing if they added more Pokemon to Sun and Moon, and the only thing we could imagine where we could see more Alola Pokemon or Alola forms would be in another Pokemon game. So today we're taking a list at potential Pokemon that would be cool and sick, really just amazing to see in the recently rumored Pokemon game for the Nintendo Switch, Pokemon Stars. Now I want to make sure to point this out. Pokemon Stars is not 100% confirmed. So please understand that this video is mainly for fun and just take a look at some cool designs from the Pokemon community. This list will contain Pokemons that are Fakemons and that are created by Smiley Fakemon as well as some other Fakemon creators. If you wish to check out any of these designers and their amazing work, then just go to the description and check the links down there that these guys have created because it's all amazing. Now let's get right into the list and take a look at some potentially sick designs for Pokemon Stars. Number 10. Okay, and coming in at number 10, we have ourselves a creation by Smiley Fakemon known as Dreek. Now, Dreek is a grass and dark type and has the abilities Intimidate and Pressure. This Pokemon does not evolve and does not have a pre-evolution at all, and its Pokemon entry states that Dreek's body is reminiscent of a huge menacing maw, making it rather intimidating. It lives in dark forests, finding enjoyment in scaring away anything that approaches it. Wind blowing through its hollow body produces airy sounds. Now essentially what this thing is a giant tiki mask. I mean, look at it. It really screams that it's a tiki mask, or just some crazy little looking Pokemon. But we thought the design was sick, and Smiley Fakemon just put a lot of time into the whole aesthetic of it, and just kind of putting a story behind it. And in general, I like the grass and dark typing, because I've never really, can't really think of a Pokemon at the top of my head right now that is a grass dark typing. It's a cool typing, as well as the abilities are really nice. Intimidate really like playing into the whole fact that it is an intimidating Pokemon living in the forest. It's just a nice touch to the overall story behind this Pokemon, being just a really creepy, edgy little thing living in the middle of the forest. So I think this potentially cool Pokemon, or just a Pokemon like in this style, would be cool to see. More of a, dark Pokemon with more a dark story behind it. Kind of like, when you think back of all the other Pokemon games, we always have those Pokemon have a dark story behind them. Creepy, like we have Drowsy and whatnot, and, Drifloon and whatnot. Like, these creepy Pokemon that have, like, really weird entries. I feel like this Pokemon would really fit into that sort of category. So let's go to number 9. Number 9. Okie dokie, coming in at number 9, we have ourselves Petrius, the dragon Pokemon. Its abilities are Stench and Rocket, and now Stench is really going to come a lot into play in the background of this Pokemon, so we'll get into that in a second. It also evolves into Atroxus at level 39. Its Pokemon entry also states that this Pokemon, Petrius, are found deep inside caves, often close to volcanic activities. They fill their habitat with a very foul stench, which knocks prey unconscious very fast. Now essentially this Pokemon is the Hellfire Pokemon. I mean, it's known as the Hell Breath Pokemon, so that kind of points towards it being a Hellfire-ish Pokemon with a foul stench. Now, it might look strange, which kind of plays into the whole thing that it comes from hell. Now, if you didn't know, Petrius comes from the word putrid, which means something that is disgustingly smelly and quite foul. Its evolution, Atroxus, is a dragon poison type, which links really well to the names and the abilities it is given. Now, Atroxus can also be seen to come from the word noxious, which indicates the fumes that it gives out in its hell-like environment. Now let's go to number 8. Number 8. Now, coming in at number 8, we have ourselves Cascus, which is a water-type Pokemon. Its abilities are Oblivious and the ability Slippery, which raises its evasiveness by 25% when it's hit by a water-type move. Now, it evolves into Cascurb at level 30, and can also Mega Evolve into Mega Cascurb at a later point once you have a Mega Stone. Either way, its Pokemon entry states that Cascus lives close to shores in quite shallow water. They're playful and oblivious, often landing in the sand of beaches. They'll eventually make their way back to the sea by splashing around, but don't mistake them for an item or you'll be in for a battle. Now, what they mean by this is basically the design is a Pokeball, which is adorable. It is basically the Voltorb of water types, essentially a Pokeball as a tadpole, which is just adorable. Now, its evolutions are insane looking for its appearance and really resembling a fish-type Pokemon. Plus, its Mega looks really awesome and turns into a dual water dragon type, and the color choice for this is just insane. We really haven't seen a Pokemon like this before, because its evolutions are essentially Master Balls, and honestly, it's a definitive improvement, just improvement for Water-type Pokemon and Fish Pokemon, compared to something like Bruxish, I can't remember that thing's name, because it's disgusting. Either way, let's go to number 7. Number 7. Now, coming in next is going to be a Pokemon called Neor. Now, this Pokemon is a Grass and Water type. Its abilities are Intimidate and Sap Sipper. Neor does not evolve, so it doesn't have any extra evolutions, and its Pokemon entry states that Neor lives in shallow waters. Their head poking out, often close to shores, their head is located on their tongue, and retracts as soon as it catches its prey, ranging from fish to bird Pokemon. Now, like a mushroom, but a Venus flytrap is basically what this Pokemon is, and it looks incredibly shifty. Like, just look at this thing, it's amazing. As you can see from the Pokemon entry, this Pokemon would be quite the dangerous thing. It kind of reminds me of something like Victory Bell or some shit like that. Basically, it waits for both Bug and Water-type Pokemon to come into its jaws, as well as Bird-type Pokemon, and snaps, and they're gone from the face of Earth. They're gone, they're dead. That's basically, I mean, I don't want to really say that, but that's essentially what happens. This thing is basically a Carnivine or a Victory Bell in the way that it is a plant that eats meat. So, essentially, this makes it even more scary than what it already was. I mean, seriously, it's just so scary looking, and just when you think about what this thing can do, just makes it even more ominous, and I would not want to step in the way of this Pokemon. So now let's go to number 6. Number 6. Now, coming in number 6, we have ourselves one of the sickest Pokemons on this list, which is going to be Jetsing. Now, Jetsing is a Steel and Water type, and if you look at the design, it kind of makes sense. Either way, its abilities are Aftermath and Detonate. Now, Detonate does so that physical attacks have a 10% chance to make this Pokemon explode and basically go boom. It also evolves into this Pokemon, or this stage, at level 20 from Flotsam, which is its pre-evolution, which is also a really cute little bomb. I don't really know if I should call a bomb cute, but either way, this Pokemon is essentially a naval mine. If you've seen those ever in like something like Finding Nemo, those naval bombs that are underwater that explode are really dangerous and are used by navies to, you know, counter U-boats and whatnot, or, you know, underwater boats and whatnot, like that, something like that, pretty much. Either way, this Pokemon is dangerous. I mean, it also looks very like something like Voltorb, but a water Voltorb, pretty much. And honestly, it is probably one of my favorite designs on this list, just for what it is. It is literally a naval mine, which is so sick, and I just love the design so much. So this is definitely one of those Pokemons you want to watch out for if it does ever exist, because this thing is going to explode pretty heftily. Let's go to number 5. Number 5. Now, coming in number 5, we have ourselves Boulder, which is a Dragon and Rock type. Its abilities are Solid Rock and Rockhead. It also evolves into Dreadrock at level 31 and into Techagon at level 42. Now, both these evolutions are really sick, and you'll see them on the screen right now. They're both really amazing, and they play a lot into its design and its Pokédex entry, which we'll take a look at right now. So, its Pokédex entry states: Boulder carry around a rock given to them soon after birth by their parents. They gnaw on this rock every chance they get, as it seems to sharpen their teeth. Now, the name comes from Boulder and the word from Maul, which is pretty scary stuff when you think about it. Also, something real interesting is that, as the Pokédex states, this Pokemon sharpens its teeth on the rock it receives every chance it gets, and what I love about it is that its design is based around the rock itself, basically the rock it receives, because it's not just something it can chew on, because essentially, as it evolves, the rock actually becomes a part of it. I mean, you see it through the evolutions, the rock isn't something it chews on anymore, but it's actually something that becomes a part of the evolution itself and the Pokemon itself, which is something I love. It's so unique and so interesting, and also does remind me a lot of Larvitar, not in actually this design or anything with the rock, but in general, just how the first evolution looks, which is really amazing, because I love Larvitar, and it's like definitely one of the coolest Pokemons ever, so seeing something in any way similar to it would be so cool, though it doesn't look like Larvitar or anything like that when it evolves. But either way, I love this Pokemon so much. Its general background and Pokédex entry are so amazing. So let's go to number 4. Number 4. Now, coming in number 4, we have ourselves Nestrich, which is a normal type Pokemon with the abilities Runaway and Big Pecs. It evolves into the Pokemon Ostrot at level 15, and then from Ostrot into Ostrike at level 34. Now, its Pokédex entry states that Nestrich carry the nest that they were hatched in all the way till evolution. They can't fly, but rely on their strong feet to run away from all threats. Now, this Pokemon's name comes from Nest and Ostrich, which is pretty neat when wouldn't you agree? It's really neat. And the thing that comes really into mind here is that this thing comes from the ostrich family. This is kind of unique, as we see all sorts of birds in the Pokemon games, but this one is a flightless bird, kind of similar to Dodrio. But what is also unique about this evolutionary line is that until its final evolution, it remains as a normal type. However, once it reaches its final stage, it becomes part fighting type. This has never been done with a bird Pokemon before, which makes this one of the coolest Pokemons I've ever seen, coolest bird-type Pokemons at least, which I would love to see in the Pokemon games. I know for a fact that this will be one of the most loved Pokemon ever in any future team by anyone because it looks so fierce and so amazing. I know a lot of people want to have this thing if it actually existed in either Pokemon Sun and Moon or in Pokemon Stars. Now let's go to number 3. Number 3. Now, coming at number 3, we have ourselves one of the creepiest Pokemons on this list, which is going to be Eape, which is a ghost/poison type. Its abilities are Stench and Rot. All secondary effects of damage-dealing moves have 30% of dealing poison when you have Rot on. Now, it evolves into Moldak at level 20, and Moldak evolves into Dehedra or Dehedra at level 50. Now, its Pokédex entry states that Eape are spirits of decapitated humans. Oh, that's pretty weird. They wandered the earth looking for their families from a past life, but scare everyone away with their horrendous stench. Now, apparently, the final stage in the evolution line of this Pokemon longs for rotting flesh and smells of death, which is really kind of weird. This thing would not be nice to be near, let's be honest. It would probably murder me through my nostrils, if we're going to be honest here. One thing I do wonder about is what is behind the Hedra's mask. I mean, could it be a decapitated head, like the first stage evolution? Because that's essentially what it is, according to the Pokédex entry. It's really creepy. This pretty much would go into the list, again, with the Pokemons that are really creepy, like, you know, Drowsy and goddamn Drifloon and those type of things. Let's just say we have a lot of those Pokemons, and I wouldn't mind having another one on that list. Number 2. Now, coming in number 2, we have ourselves a Pokemon called Oravio, which is a bug poison type Pokemon. Its abilities are Poison Point and Intimidate. It evolves into this form from its previous evolution, which is Larvio at level 22. Now, its Pokédex entry states that Oravio are giant insects capable of decently long periods of flight. They use their mandibles to inject toxins into their prey, which mostly consist of smaller bugs. It's pretty freaking weird if I'm gonna be honest. Either way, its name comes from the Latin word ophigus or ophihagus. I really can't say that, but it's basically king cobra in Latin, and Raphio, which means needle. Now, it looks really creepy if I'm gonna be honest. Its wings can be seen to resemble snakes, which adds the whole king cobra effect to it. But what I like about this Pokemon in particular is that it, in fact, hunts on smaller bug Pokemon, which is, it's basically the bully of the forest when you think about it. Like just think about it. This Pokemon is a bug Pokemon, but it essentially hunts other bugs, which is really cool. It's a predator. That's always awesome. I love those type of Pokemon. You kind of imagine, you know, something like, you know, a Pidgey hunting a little Caterpie. It's like that sort of scenario. But this type, it's actually a bigger Caterpie hunting a small Caterpie, essentially. Either way, also the way this Pokemon typing matches up to its design is just really cool, especially due to the snake being venomous and giving it that whole distinctive poison typing. So let's go to number 1. Number 1. Now, coming in at number 1, we have ourselves Offhill, which is a ground fire Pokemon for the volcanic form and a ground ice Pokemon for the Iceberg form. Now, this is definitely one of the coolest Pokemons on this list. Its abilities could be either Flash Fire or Snow Cloak, which is really amazing, and it does not evolve into anything because it doesn't have an evolutionary line which hasn't yet been created. If it does get created, we'll probably mention in a future video, but for now, we don't know about any future like evolutions that this thing could have. Either way, its Pokemon entry states, and this is something we just put together because it wasn't any, so it says that Offhill are based entirely on the environment they originate from. The Iceberg form comes from the highest mountains and the coldest regions of the Pokemon world. Meanwhile, its hot-headed counterpart can be found in the hottest and most tropical regions. Now, Offhill's name could hint at the fact that both are based off large areas of terrain such as mountains and hills. Now, these Pokemons are our favorites as they are insanely cool. It'd be really nice to see some sort of evolutionary line made from these Pokemons, and in general, we could see more Pokemons with these sort of forms based on where they come from, like what region they are from, sort of like Orikoros from Sun and Moon, and that would be pretty interesting to see. That's why we made this Remixes are number 1 on this list. Of course, you guys can have your own opinions and leave them in the comment section below. We'd love to see your opinions down there. Which was the favorite Fakemon on this list for you guys, and which one would you love to see in Pokemon Stars or Pokemon Sun and Moon anytime in the future, or maybe something similar to one of these Pokemons. If you have any suggestions of your own or your own ideas for Fakemons, let us know in the just basically in the comments below. Maybe in the future we can draw some up ourselves and kind of make our own little Fakemons. Just try to make a video out of that just for fun. Either way, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. If you did enjoy, smash the like button below. If you want to see more videos like this one, please just do subscribe to Ruffle Rowlet. And either way, that's going to be the end of the video. Guys, we'll catch you later. Bye bye, Pokemon trainers.